Brad Sherman from California's best named city, Sherman Oaks. I'm pleased to join the Organization of Iranian-American Communities to commemorate the anniversary of Iran's 1979 revolution. The revolution may have started with talk of democracy, but will ultimately force the Iranian people to live under an autocratic and corrupt regime that targets its own people and is the chief state sponsor of international terrorism from Syria to Lebanon to Gaza to Europe and South America and across the globe. We have often heard this story firsthand from our neighbors in Los Angeles, the Iranian-American community, particularly the San Fernando Valley, many of whom fled to escape the repression of this regime. Despite originating humanity's very first human rights document, the Cyrus Cylinder, the Iranian people have faced abysmal human rights conditions since this day 43 years ago. We must not forget what this regime is and has been capable of doing. The world should not forget the mass murders carried out by the Iranian regime in 1988. It was in July of that year that Ayatollah Khomeini issued the bloody order to, quote, annihilate the enemies of Islam immediately. Executions of thousands continued for months, with hundreds of people hanged each and every day before being buried in a mass, unmarked grave. Today we know that as many as 30,000 political prisoners had their lives taken from them, taken because they supported the dream of a free Iran. President Raisi, his human rights record has been even worse than his predecessors, with executions rising dramatically. According to Amnesty International, Iran is the most prolific user of capital punishment in the region and second worldwide only after China. Tragically, just a few days ago, the regime executed its latest victims, 2 gay men who were murdered as a result of the country's archaic anti-sodomy laws. For too long, the Iranian people have been deprived of their fundamental freedoms, for which reason they rejected dictatorship in 1979 and oppose religious tyranny today. And that's why I became the chief sponsor of House Resolution 118, expressing support for the Iranian people's desire for a democratic, secular, and non-nuclear republic of Iran, and condemning violations of human rights and state-sponsored terrorism by the current Iranian regime. I have long been dedicated to helping those who are trying to achieve democracy in Iran. For example, back in 2019, before this epidemic, I spoke at the Free Iran rally outside the State Department to express my solidarity with the brave Iranians protesting for a new chapter in Iran's history. 1,500 of those protesters were killed during the 2 weeks of unrest, and thousands more were detained and subjected to widespread torture, including beatings, floggings, electric shocks, stress positions, mock executions, watering boards, sexual violence, forced administration of chemical substances, and the deprivation of medical care. Last Congress, I supported and helped pass through the House Resolution 752, supporting the rights of the people of Iran to free expression, condemning the Iranian regime for its crackdown on legitimate protests. In this Congress, I have co-sponsored H Resolution 497 and H Resolution 744, which condemn Iran's state-sponsored persecution of the LGBTQ+ community and of religious minorities such as the Baha'i. As long as I am in Congress, I will continue to fight for the dream of a free, democratic Iran. Thank you for standing with me to move toward that dream. Thank you very much. I'm Congressman Brad Sherman.